Welcome back to the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Here's some trivia for you. Do you know I was once in a barbershop quartet? We called ourselves the Flat Top Four. It was me, Bonzo, Jimmy, and Little Pete. And we sang classic songs like Who Stole My Malomars? And If It's Wednesday, It Must Be Raining. In any event, I bet you didn't know that, but you'll learn a lot of silly stuff today on the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Enjoy it with Petty Fours. Hi, this is Bob Smith. You might remember me from all of my years doing entertainment magazines as an editor and writer, but this is the Outdated Entertainment Hour. We're so glad you're back, and we are absolutely glad that you have chosen to spend a half hour with us looking at some trivia. We're gonna do some really fun trivia questions for you. Our next episode is going to be the longly planned 10 underrated comedies with journalist John Pine and film reviewer. He's going to be with us again. Actually, the first time on this show. He's been on my other podcast, The Outdated Wrestling Hour, on a couple of occasions. Second time we reviewed films. So I'm really looking forward to trying to surprise you with some really obscure entertainment trivia. Some of this you might know, but I bet most of it you don't. Like, do you know who won the 1974 Oscar as Best Actor? You're about to find out. Going to spoil it for that other show, too. But, yeah, I just figured I'd drop this now and hope that you enjoy it as we get back to our regular bi-weekly schedule for the Outdated Entertainment Hour. So grab yourself a tasty beverage or maybe a little snack. We hope you enjoy this very oddball collection of trivia factoids. Frankly, I can't get enough of that kind of stuff. I love being surprised. I hope you do too. So here's the great Joe Walsh. Here's some trivia. What was his first band? What was his second band? What's his current band? Bet you can name all three. You're too smart for that. But anyway, here's Joe. He's going to talk about one of his favorite hobbies, and we're going to be right back with, well, trivia, gang. Don't you go anywhere.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Walsh. One thing I do when I'm not playing rock and roll is get on the air as an amateur radio operator. Also called ham radio, is a communication service provided by ordinary people just like you and me. Ham radio operators are everywhere, in your city, your area, your neighborhood, in any country you go to. We have a national emergency communication system in place 24/7, 365. In case of natural or man-made disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, you name it, we're there. Find out more about amateur radio at arrl.org/whatishamradio. See you on the air.
Yeah, it's time for a little trivia here on the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Hi, I'm Bob Smith. You know me from all the magazine work I've done. Well, that's not important right now, although I have a little magazine trivia mixed in with all my other trivia tidbits here. Most of these are right off the top of my head from years of just, being on this planet. I remember oddball trivia better than I remember my own birthday, which is not a stretch. It's absolutely true. I don't know why. Some things just stick in my head. like the Belinsky meets jingle from the 1960s, or those weird Hansel and Gretel cold cut commercials where this German guy was just all over this Brunschwager or something. But in any event, we hope to give you a little brain teasers here with, well, a list of oddball showbiz trivia. Some of it you may know, some of it you may not. And we would definitely be interested in finding out what you know and what you've learned about odd showbiz tidbits over the years. One of my favorites was Sigourney Weaver. One of the most famous and successful actresses, I guess I'll call it the 80s and 90s for lack of a better frame of reference. Everybody knows her from Alien and all the other hit movies she's been in, Ghostbusters, everything. But she had a famous person in her life that was a relative. She is the niece of, get this, Doodles Weaver. Doodles was a musician and comedian, comedy actor in the 40s, 50s, 60s, into the 70s, I guess. Best known by some for a kids show that was on Channel 11, I think in the early 70s, called A Day with Doodles. I have to tell you, it's the unfunniest thing I've ever seen. The show was just it was like a silent film with narration, Doodles getting in trouble, and it was just the cheapest, weirdest thing I think I've ever seen on KidVid. But I never forgot it. Never forgot Doodles Weaver, who would show up on the Hollywood Palace and things like that. And earlier, he was a member of the Spike Jones City Slickers band. So anyway, if you know Doodles Weaver, I'll bet you didn't know he was related to Sigourney Weaver. There's another Weaver with famous relatives. Anybody remember Charlie Weaver from the Hollywood Squares? You know, he was in the lower left-hand square most of the time. Well, his real name was Cliff Arquette, and he had some really famous relatives later on in life. His two famous granddaughters, Rosanna Arquette and Patricia Arquette, and his grandson is David Arquette. Not bad, Charlie Weaver. Here's some more Hollywood Squares trivia for you. Remember Peter Marshall? He was the host of the original 60s Hollywood Squares. His real name was Ralph Lecoq, right? Ralph Lecoq, LACCOCK was his real name. He changed it for show business. And he had a son named Pete Lecoq who made the major leagues. He was a first baseman who played for the Cubs and Royals in Major League Baseball. Had a good 9-year career. Bet you didn't know that. As you know, we did a Guess Who show here not that long ago. Now, I'll bet you know Tal Bachman from his 2000 hit, She's So High, which was a top 10. Well, it's pretty much a classic song. But did you know he's the son of Randy Bachman from the Guess Who and BTO? Did you know he's in the current touring version of BTO? Yes, when you go to see them, you'll hear She's So High, which is a great song. Bachman turned over I was going to tour Canada once again this year, something to look forward to up in the Great White North. Speaking of the Guess Who, not many people remember that their first hit in 1965 worldwide, I think it made as high as the top 20 in the United States, or maybe 22 or something like that, was a cover of Johnny Kidd and the Pirates' Shakin' All Over. That was before Burton Cummings was in the band. The lead vocal was by Chad Allen. Yes, when The Who would play Shakin' All Over, like it live at Leeds, it was a response to confused fans who wanted to keep their fans happy. And a lot of people thought the Guess Who was The Who, and The Who was the Guess Who. So The Who started playing Shakin' All Over. Likewise, when they were starting out, the Guess Who started playing My Generation. You can't make this stuff up. Right? But it's all true. It has all really happened. Another great musician, Sammy Hagar, right? Probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. You all know him from his solo career, from his years with Van Halen. But from 1973 to 1975, his first major band was in Montrose. He was the lead singer in a band called Montrose, featuring the great guitarist Ronnie Montrose, who had just left the Edgar Winter Group. If you want to see really young Sammy Hagar singing with Montrose, check out a new edition of the Midnight Special that just made YouTube. The producers of Midnight Special are putting full shows on YouTube now. It's one hosted by the Guess Who and Wolfman Jack from 1975. Check it out. Very, very young, big-haired Sammy Hagar. You'll get a kick out of it. Audrey Meadows. Everybody remembers her as Alice Cramden on The Honeymooners. It's an indelible, fantastic role, and she was fantastic in it. You know, she wasn't really the first Alice Cramden, technically. The original Honeymooners sketches were shown on a variety hour called the Cavalcade of Stars. The first Alice Cramden was an actress named Pert Kelton. You can see her on those so-called lost episodes of the Honeymooners that are streaming all over many streaming platforms, including Tubi and stuff like that. Check it out. You'll see a different Alice Cramden. And if you think Ralph Cramden was a blowhard in the classic 38, wait till you see him in the early editions. He was just one loud, mean guy. And did you know that Audrey and her sister Jane Meadows, another actress, teamed up for a hit single way back late 50s? Yeah, it had to do with the Mambo. Of course it did. The classic Honeymooners Mambo episode, right? Anyway, it was called Hot Potato Mambo. You can find it and hear it on YouTube. It's a scream. How do I know about this? When I was a little boy with the big Spindle 45 player, my parents had bought that single. We used to listen to it all the time. Great memories there. Of course, another great memory was the Captain Kangaroo show. Used to watch it every day before school or watched it, in preschool. And everybody loved the Captain and Mr. Green Jeans. But I really don't know why they changed his name to Mr. Green Jeans, because his real name was hilarious. His real name was Lumpy Branham. That sounds like a star to me. I did not know until recently that Freddie Mercury wasn't really Freddie Mercury. His real name is Farrokh Bulsara. And Lana Del Rey's real name is Elizabeth Grant. I had no idea. Somebody told me those things. So like, really? But yeah, really, that's true. Everybody loves Adam Sandler for his work in all those movies and on Saturday Night Live. But does anybody remember him from 1987 on Remote Control on MTV? A really funny game show that had a great cast with him and Kerry Werrer and a bunch of other young comedians. I wonder if that's being shown anywhere. If anybody knows, let me know, because I would watch that show again. I thought it was hilarious. Remote Control with Adam Sandler. Do you know that the person who draws Mutts in the Daily Comics, his name is Patrick McConnell? Did you know he did a Marvel Comics superheroes inspired book in 2023? It's still available at the Mutts website. You might want to check that out. I had no idea it is into superheroes, and it's, from what I understand, it's pretty fantastic. Which leads us back to comic books. What is the best-selling single issue of a comic of all time? Now, I would assume it was the first Superman or Detective Comics with Batman or, the debut of the Silver Surfer or something like that, but it actually goes way back. And not as far back as you might think. 1991, when comics were pretty hot at that point, a new book called X-Men #1, according to all my sources. That's the highest selling single issue of a comic book of all time, currently tabulated at 8.2 million copies, which got me to thinking, what's the single biggest selling magazine single issue of all time? Now, thinking logically, I thought it might be something like TV Guide or something like that, or something general interest. Well, it was sort of general interest if you considered Playboy to be general interest. Yeah, it was Playboy, November 1972. That issue sold an estimated 7.16 million copies. I had no idea. That amazes me. I remember the Charlie's Angels 1976 TV Guide was a huge seller. Like, it flew out of all the supermarkets and everything. People really wanted to see that show, and there's a beautiful picture on the cover, and I can understand why that was a big seller. Odd pairings. I think we talked about this on the show once before. You haven't lived until you heard the Christmas song as performed by Alvin and the Chipmunks with Canned Heat. That's right, the 1970s Boogie Meisters who played at Woodstock. They did a single with the little rodents. I don't know what else to say. It's meant as a kid's record, I guess. But the flip side is something called Christmas Blues by Kenny, which is a straight blues song played by them. Very strange. I think it was because both artists were on Liberty Records, and then somebody came up with the bright idea to do a thing together. I had this record too, but I didn't mean to have this record. Back in the 1960s, you could buy these cutout 45 RPM records. They would come like 10 or 12 to a pack, and it would be like 88 cents. They were just records that didn't sell. Well, I bought one of those packs, and inside that pack was, Ken Heat and the Chipmunks, as well as a bunch of other records I used to listen to all the time because they were like, 5 cents a piece or whatever it was. All I know is I couldn't believe it then. I believe it even less now. Here's a little piece of baseball trivia that ties into entertainment. The current Arizona Diamondbacks manager is a former infielder named Torey Lovullo. He's the son of Sam Lovullo, who produced Hee Haw all those years. I'm not kidding. Hee Haw with Roy Clark and Buck Owens and Junior Samples and Grandpa and Barbie Benton, and just go down the list of all the regulars on the classic Hee Haw. All the years it was on in both CBS and in syndication, it was produced by Sam Lovullo. I have good memories of Hee Haw. I think everybody I knew watched Hee Haw. Did you watch it? That's the question. Or was it too, I don't know, hayseed for your taste? I'd get one laugh an episode, and that was good enough. And everybody loved that porch scene, if you know what I mean. Did you know that Martin Short, now you knew he was on SCTV, you knew he was on SNL. Now he's got a hit series currently, and he's been in 1,000 movies, and he's been Jiminy Glick and everything else. But did you know he was on network television before even SCTV? In 1980, he was a regular on a short-lived sitcom named I'm a Big Girl Now that also had Danny Thomas on it. So in any event, he was groomed for stardom his whole career. Of course, he had his Second City training, which is top-notch for any comedian. He's one of my personal favorites. He always makes me laugh. I haven't seen I'm a Big Girl Now. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. Did you know, more honeymooners for you, did you know that Art Carney was the original Felix Unger on Broadway, playing next to Walter Matthau as Oscar? Started in 1965. Amazing. I can't picture it, but Carney was such a good actor. He won an Oscar in 1974 for Harry and Tonto. But he also acted on Broadway with Jack Klugman as Oscar. Art Carney was such a great actor. Night of the Meek from The Twilight Zone is one of my favorite television programs of all time. And he could do a lot more than just be Ed Norton. That's for doggone sure. What a career for Art Carney. Everybody knows Alex Trebek as the longtime host of Jeopardy! You know who the original host was? From 1964 through 1979, it was Art Fleming. The show went through a bunch of incarnations, daytime, nighttime, and stuff like that. But Art Fleming was the original host. Very proper enunciating guy. I enjoyed him very, very much. But did you also know that Alex Trebek, before he took over Jeopardy!, hosted the long time running game show Concentration, formerly hosted by Hugh Downs and Bill Cullen and a whole mess of people. But I think Alex really found his niche when he started with Jeopardy! He will never be forgotten in that role, that's for sure. More music trivia. Most people remember the original Fabulous Thunderbirds featuring Kim Wilson on harmonica and vocals and Jimmy Vaughan on guitar. Did you know that when Jimmy Vaughan stepped out for a solo career, he was replaced by blues great Duke Robillard? Made a really good record for CBS, Walk That Walk, Talk That Talk. Really good record. And you might want to look for that because it's really good. But most people don't realize that blues legend Duke Robillard was a fabulous T-Bird. Did you know I was a recording artist? I'll bet you did. Under the name of Robert Charles, I made a bunch of albums. First one, the Robert Charles Blues Band. First one, the Robert Charles Blues Band, was Deception in Your Eyes. Second one was Greatest Thing That Ever Happened to Me, which was the album called Metropolitan Blue, produced by Duke Robillard. There you go. There's your tie-in. And the third one was produced by New York blues legend Michael Hill, called Three-Legged Dogs and Old School Cats. All of my music is streaming on Amazon and Spotify. Yeah, it's a self-commercial, but it's also trivia because I don't talk about it a whole lot. So there you go. And I hope you enjoyed this very brief trivia moment with us. And do you have any factoids that we didn't hit or something you know that you don't think a lot of people know? write to us at outdatedent, that's outdatedent at gmail.com, and we will talk about it right here on a future episode. I'm going to do a lot of trivia because I love trivia. I know a lot of other people do too. Trivia Pursuit is one of the great board games of all time, along with things like Monopoly and Stratomatic and stuff like that. But I can't get enough of trivia. I love to be surprised by little factoids. Maybe you do too. So we will soon do another trivia show with a special guest. Keep your eyes and ears on this spot. And who knows, maybe we'll use one of your submissions on the podcast. So love to do it. Write to us, like I said, outdatedent@gmail.com. The whole idea is have a little fun and look back with gratitude and appreciation for the entertainment that we all loved growing up. Can't beat the old days, right? Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. The generation who grew up with elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today. Well, that puts a nice bow on another Outdated Entertainment Hour. We hope you really enjoyed the festivities here with our trivia time. Write to us, as I said before, at outdatedent, that's outdatedent at gmail.com. We have a website where you can hear all of our episodes. It's real simple, outdatedentertainment.buzzsprout.com. It's right there. All the episodes are absolutely free of charge forever. I will not Patreon my fans. There's no need for that. We're doing well enough with both podcasts, which are the Outdated Wrestling Hour and the Outdated Entertainment Hour, that, I don't want to charge people to listen to old shows. I just don't. I know that's how some podcasts make their money, but I want as many years as I can get. Since we really love doing this, we really love bringing these shows to you. You can find me on Facebook. I'm the only Bob Smith singing with B.B. King on the lead page. Yeah, I know, great moments. You can also find Outdated Bob on Instagram, Blue Sky. Yeah, we're still an X, begrudgingly. And on Threads. It's a lot of fun getting back on schedule here with the Outdated Entertainment Hour. We're going to have some really great guests coming up. Like I said, starting with the great John Pine, fine journalist, a great guy. And we're working on getting some, more famous people here that you may be surprised that we can get on the show. I really think you should avail yourselves of future episodes of the Outdated Entertainment Hour. It's all in our quest to have a little fun, lighten up, show appreciation for our wonderful past. I remember watching television when it was a big honking wood contraption with two speakers, and sometimes the knob would fall off. You'd have to turn it on with a pair of pliers. I know so many people that did that. Because they didn't know how to fix it or couldn't or didn't want to pay to do it. So once that knob would fall off, you would literally use pliers to click, turn it on, or bang, turn it off. And you could turn up the volume with that knob. It's usually the on-off and volume knob combined. But that's how far I go back. I go back to black and white television. I watched a lot of black and white TV. A lot of it, yeah. We had black and white set for a long time when I was a child. You have memories like that? It's funny. I enjoyed television way more when we had just 3 stations than I do now when I have countless stations on my streaming platform. I think sometimes that too much choice is worse than just, the 3 stations back as they were. However, the nice thing about the streaming platforms is things like MeTV Tunes, where I can watch classic Warner Brothers and Bullwinkle and Rocky and all the stuff I watched when I was a child. It's amazing. And Tubi and Amazon Prime have every Three Stooges episode, and all the stuff I watched when I was 4, I can watch now at the press of a button. It's easy to complain in this world of ours, but you know what? We've got it real good in the United States of America, and I never forget that. I hope you have it real good too. This is the Outdated Entertainment Hour. My name is Bob Smith. We hope you come back in 2 weeks to hear another show. Until then, thank you so much. And as another one of my showbiz idols, Ringo Starr, loves to say, peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.